Hey, there we go. Check it out, Troy. Yes, sir. Look at that. Yes. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I'm wound to another episode of Conspiracies and Mysteries. So this time we're not 19 minutes into the show. We're 3 minutes into the show. Yeah. You see what I'm talking about? Yes, yes. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, to do it again, my name is Brian Trust, and my co-host is Troy. But I did like that little Epstein kick when I called you Boy Troy. Yeah, some of those guys might know that out there, and gals. Hey, but check it out. Tonight we're going to talk a very sensitive topic, 9/11. That weighs heavy on my heart, Troy, because that's American soil that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think last week we were, kind of talking about where we were that day.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. When I'm so focused on food, it's so tough to focus on content.
Tell me you were at McDonald's on that day.
No, I wasn't. No. But that's an unpaid commercial. I should get like a free apple pie for something like that.
We're working now.
So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you in the comments, if you like, where were you at 9/11? On that day, when this was all going down, where were you? And maybe, Troy, when the first tower got hit, okay, that a plane accidentally hit it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you were still at the same spot, and then the second tower got hit, now wait a second.
Yeah.
So not only do I want to know where were you, what was going through your head?
When the first one hit, like everyone else thought, it was just some kind of a fluke thing. By that time, I got to turn on the TV. I turned on the TV to watch it, to see what was going on. And of course, you saw the smoke and stuff. And then when the second one hit, I thought, man, I don't know. Alec was just in preschool at the time. I didn't think we were going to be able to get him off to school, and we didn't. I took him to his mom's, and he stayed home because, like everyone else, we didn't know how long this was going to go on. We knew there was a plane in the air. We didn't know where it was going, and we were under attack. And it was a scary thing because you didn't know when the horror was going to end.
Now, when you said under attack, were you thinking that just the second tower, not the first? The first tower could have just been like...
After the second one went,
yeah,
we found out that there was another plane in the air. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, I remember. I was at the car dealership.
Yeah.
And I'm like, after the second tower hit, I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm going to get my kids out of school, and I'll never forget my colleague, like, whatever, like blowing the whole thing off. Now, I don't know media content, but I don't care what Super Bowl or any Super Bowl commercial, there's no doubt in my mind there was more Americans glued to the TV on 9/11.
Yeah, absolutely there was. Matter of fact, we have a clip here of number one. You got number one?
Coming up to number one right now.
All right, let's show people a little bit of what was going on there.
Could have gave me a little leeway there, Troy.
Sorry about that. This may be I don't know if this is a BBC broadcast.
As well as on the inside, at the bottom would have to be severed almost at the same time.
In order for the perimeter to fall perfectly and symmetrically, which it pretty much does at Building 7, all of those columns have to be removed within a tenth of a second of each other. The last and possibly most conclusive piece of evidence against the official explanation is freefall. After the initial failure of the penthouse on the eastern side of the building, the entire structure came crashing down to the ground in a little more than 6 seconds.
That's insane.
Straight down. It went straight down.
Yeah, because I personally, now again, I'm definitely not a rocket scientist, but man, if I see something so erect and so big, if it's going to fall, I mean, I don't know if it's tottering, but this just, the best word's collapse.
Perfect.
And isn't it theoretically engineered, proven, that would almost have to take a skilled preset
there's no doubt
implosion setup?
Absolutely.
So
because there was nothing that was stopping that building from going down. You would think that the rows down below would stop it a little bit, but it was total free fall.
So I'm going to jump in and chime in here for a second. Earlier when I first started the broadcast, I made a comment and said, this is a very sensitive topic for me.
Oh, yeah.
Let me elaborate on that. In in the event of 9/11, as the day progressed, and we're going to talk more about it because there was more planes involved, more targets. Mm-hmm. But the narrative all points the finger to Al Qaeda, Bin Laden. Isn't that correct?
That's what we heard days later from George Bush.
Right. But here's where it's such a sensitive topic for me. You know, my biggest fascination, folks, if you don't know this, one of the reasons why I started this podcast, now it's named Conspiracies and Mysteries, but there's also Myths and Legends. One of the number one topics that intrigues me the most as just a normal person, and I want you guys too, this podcast is open to you. I've told you could reach out to trustonriverbender@gmail.com, any topic that you want to talk about. Anyways, let me get back and focused. What's up, James Johnson? Appreciate you watching. Is whistleblowers. Whistleblowers is the number one thing that fascinates me. Now, going back to the topic at hand of 9/11, it's so sensitive to me because the picture is painted Bin Laden, Al Qaeda. But what if? What if this had anything to do with an American who calls himself an American or a group that this was truly... And I don't even want to say this, guys, because I don't want you, if you're tuning in, I want you to tune in for years to come. But if I truly say, if this was an American job and that major destruction and the ripple effect that we're still feeling today, folks, I'm going to tell you, where is my trust in the government? So, you know, I'm wound. Here I go again. I'm wound. I know our current President Trump got all these files released on all topics, including how we keep going back to Epstein, right? But here's the reality. They say all these files have been released. Even John Kennedy episode we were talking about, right? When they said they released them, they didn't fully release them. And what the government tells us, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot of stuff they withhold to protect us, to protect where our minds might go. But you know what? If you're not telling us the truth, just like a relationship at home, if you're not getting the whole truth, what does your mind do?
Well, I think human beings genuinely are curious for the truth. I mean, they're curious beings. That goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden, you know. I kept thinking about why they would not tell the truth about a lot of these things. And a lot of it is human nature. I mean, if you knew about all the horrible things that goes on, I don't know how you could operate day to day and not try and ferret out this thing that is wrong, or I don't know how you could go about, I don't want to wake up and go get done it. I don't see, so maybe it's, their thinking is for our own good, that we don't know the truth.
Okay, and that's what we're told, but our mind is going to wander. Yes. Okay, so really fast, I know you got like a plethora of notes right there. I used a big word, by the way, more than one syllable. Hey, let's go, trust is wound. One of the big things that I want to jump into that have me with this sensitive topic about potential American stuff going on is I'm big into the stock market. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy because, folks, when I'm telling you, it's factual data. Okay? Mm-hmm. That, I don't know if it was a week, at max 2 weeks, that there was some major moves on the airlines in the stock industry, right?
Short the stock.
They shorted the stock. Yeah. But then here's another thing. They said that it was one individual or one company that was like 80+%.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Of buying this, right? Yeah. But here's the deal. When you talk about a catastrophe so devastating, how come nobody's releasing the name of that organization? And again, my mind can only wonder this. Is that an internal country business?
Well, no one claimed that $5 million that they made. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
They didn't. No one claimed it. I guess they would find out then.
But you see the sensitivity of the topic for me. Okay, if it's, and I'm not saying it's okay if it's Al Qaeda. That's not, hey, you know, because I mean, there's some positives that came out of this 9/11. Okay.
Well, there's always positives that come out of a tragedy. I mean, there's, people care about each other, people help each other, and I often wonder about that. Do people need tragedies so they can feel good about themselves?
I don't know if I want any more tragedies.
No, I know. I know, but it makes you wonder. remember watching the event one time. I was on the news, and it was a pipe bomb, something blew up, and all these people were standing outside helping other people, and it was almost like they were like self-soothing or something. They were, and I thought, do people need to feel like they're going to help others? I mean, is that need so big that there has to be tragedies every once in a while?
Well, I would just like to, give myself a little advertisement on this. That if you want to feel good every Thursday, tune in at 2 p.m. for my podcast, Because You're Beautiful. And we could talk about God.
That is a good podcast.
Because God, I appreciate that. God is love. So if you want to feel good, love our Heavenly Father, and He'll do the rest for you. So let's get back to 9/11. Not that I was taken away from you, but I'm looking at all your notes, and we got a ton to cover. We got a ton to cover.
Well, I tell you what, Tower 7 was known as the Solomon Building. Did you know that?
I did not, but I like where you're going with this.
Sounds familiar, like Solomon's Temple, doesn't it?
Yes, sir, it does.
I even read where there was a pattern with these buildings that line up with the towers of Giza. Did you know that?
No, but this is why I love you as my co-host, Brent.
Well, I didn't follow it too much, but that tower went down hours later after the Twin Towers did. And I don't know if I picked it up in some of these video clips that you're going to see tonight, where some of these people that were there were, I guess, the Red Cross and whoever else was telling people, they're going to blow up this building, you got to get out of here. Now, that was Tower 7. So, it just doesn't mix with what we were to believe. You tell me how a tower, like Tower 7, can just decide to crumble on its own, and there were buildings between the Twin Towers and Building 7.
Now,
and it just decides it's going to go down too.
Now, I apologize if I butcher this, ladies and gentlemen, but is that the same tower where there was a video posted before?
Oh, you're talking about the BBC report?
Yes.
Yeah, that was like a half hour or so before the Building 7 went down.
Right. So
and you see the gal, she's standing there, and the Twin Towers are burning back there. And she's saying that the Building 7 has gone down, and you can see Building 7
still
behind
standing.
her.
Folks, what do you think about that? I mean, listen. Listen. Matter of fact, let's just go into it. AI technology, okay? Because we're going to bring something up towards the end of the show. My favorite video that we're going to share. So when you brought that up, and we're going back to when the president was with the kids and doing the spelling bee, okay?
Yeah.
So I did some homework on that, and I could not find any factual data. But then I see this video that you provided, and it's there. So unless AI, because today AI is huge. Sometimes you don't know what's real, what's not. But we're going back to September 11, X amount of years ago. I don't think AI, so if that was today and with AI, there could be some skepticism. But not way back then for what you just talked about. Ladies and gentlemen, you could watch the video, BBC, where the tower is still standing, but yet the news reporter...
I know. I mean, people knew that this was going to happen. The White House was getting reports from the CIA that bin Laden was going to, he was going to do something big in the United States, okay? And it went up the food chain, and it went as far as Dick Cheney. And don't know if it was ever forwarded to George Bush or not, but Dick Cheney basically said, you know what, I don't want to hear any more about bin Laden. Okay, I don't want to hear more about it. And so they didn't act on it. So, was bin Laden behind it? I mean, you look at this guy. I mean, he's wearing a fan belt and a bed sheet out in the desert, and you're thinking, how can this guy mastermind something like this? He needed help. Now, he was supposedly a CIA asset in the mid-'80s. I think that's true. Okay. But I have a theory who helped him out. Do I think the CIA was involved? Yeah, I do.
Folks, we're getting deep right now when the initials get involved.
Yeah, and quite honestly, why don't you go
I want you to be honest.
Why don't you go to video 3?
You're supposed to be giving me heads up, but I'm on it. We're going to video 3. Here we go. So as I pull this up, what are we about to see right here?
Dr. Alan Saprosky.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Saprosky?
I have had long conversations over the past 2 weeks with contacts at the Army War College, at Headquarters Marine Corps, and I made it absolutely clear in both cases that it is 100% certain that 9/11 was a Mossad operation.
That's a pretty powerful statement, dude. I don't know if you wanted me to continue.
No, we don't need to continue.
But that's a pretty bold statement right there.
Yeah, it is. Mossad is the, I guess, Israeli intelligence. They take people out. They do things like that, covert operations. And here's what's interesting: the CIA and the Mossad have worked together. Did you know that?
That I do believe, unless I watch too many
Yeah.
TVs. But there has to be some kind of collaboration. Not just in the years past, but today current, because sometimes there's allies and you just can't do it on your own and you need that covert operation. So
yeah, they have worked together in the past, and it just I kept wondering why would Mossad agents, if that's true, why would they be in the business of taking down these towers? First of all, I want to get back to Dick Cheney for a minute.
go ahead.
This guy, he was on my bad guys list here, and he made so much money after 9/11. He was the CEO of Halliburton. He got billions of contracts. Now, to provide logistics and oil field services, these were awarded without competitive bidding.
Must
Can
be
you
nice.
believe that?
It must be nice.
I mean, and this is the vice president.
But here, and listen, I'm terrible about interrupting, but when we do this podcast, a lot of times I like to believe I'm them, out there listening. Well, I am. I'm listening to you, and I'm watching you. So I want to do a quick fast forward. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
You said you had a theory, and then you kind of faded away from it. They want to hear it. I want to hear it. Now, wait a second. Let me just do a quick disclosure. The comments that Troy may say or Brian Truss may say may not necessarily, they do not reflect the views of RiverBender Radio, okay? But now, I got that clear. I want to hear your theory.
What would you think if I told you that somebody said that the 9/11 attacks would be a very, very good? What would you think about a person would say that?
Because I'm a Christian, I really don't want to comment.
Well, what, you put me on the spot.
Okay. Let's just say the very polite way. I'm going to pray for them, but they need to be dealt with.
That was Bibi Netanyahu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
now, factual quoted?
Yeah, they can check that out.
Okay.
It's out there. He said it's very good, and also if someone said if someone was doing a book deal, and they said that the Muslims will bring down the World Trade Center 6 years before it happened, what kind of a guy do you think would say that?
Profiteering guy?
That was Bibi Netanyahu again.
See, this is why it's such a sensitive topic to me. Because listen, if you're out there and you're listening, okay, and I don't find myself intelligent at all, but I find myself very curious, and that's why I started this podcast. Don't you think that this entire 9/11 has been Al-Qaeda and Bin Laden? And I mean, as Americans, weren't we all? I mean, think about this. We were all high testosterone, let's get them! By the way, when I say that, I'm using very common choice words opposed to what I feel, what people were going through. And not only that, look at the influx of how many people wanted to join the military to be a part of this.
Oh, right. I think about that iconic photo with the fire engines going towards 9/11 under that bridge, and knowing that those guys, I don't think any of them came back. It just.
Well, we were just, and
I can't believe it.
I'm going to post a link after this podcast while we were waiting to prep for the show, unless you guys want to do it yourself, on YouTube, The Sounds of Silence. There's a Disturbed version, and the reason why I bring this up is not just the song Sounds of Silence, but if you watch this tribute, 5 stars. I mean, honestly, both of us had goosebumps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did.
And I brought that up because you were talking about those iconic photos. And if you want to take a trip down memory lane, that
Oh,
video.
yeah.
That video did it
that
for
will
us.
tug at your heart, for sure.
So
It gave me goosebumps. I'd never seen it.
before we go to a commercial, and I know you're running the show here, but I'm just so excited. No, listen, I say that because the research that you put into this, you know, I'm just glad to be a part of this. But we have a few picks out, and just one of the picks, I'm sure we'll save Revelation towards the end. That's kind of what it is. But I want to pull one up. Which one did you want to go to first?
It doesn't matter. We can do the rings.
Let's do the ring.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, check this out. So the ring, the Roman numerals stand for?
9/11.
And what is that ring?
That's the rings that were worn by Jesuits. The Society of Jesus.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, okay. Now, I only said I was going to bring up one picture. I'm going to show another picture.
Okay.
Because the relevance is...
So that's Jewish mysticism, and you see the IXXI.
You just said the Kabbalah Tree of Life. Now, again, I did this just in case we do this audio visual and it's not there. You notice I'm going off the picture and going back. I'm going to bounce back. But before I do, folks, we just showed you two pictures. And what's the relevance is both have the symbol 9/11 in it. So let me just do a quick both pictures real fast. Yeah. That's crazy.
I'm going to tell you another little bit about the 9/11.
Okay.
Now, I had a hard time figuring out the Hebrew calendar, but I did, and it's Solomon's Temple, the Second Temple, and the Twin Towers all fell on 9/11.
See? That's why I love you. I didn't know this now.
I mean, it just blows my mind, you know.
So when I said earlier that I'm a Christian and we talked about my 2 p.m. podcast, and again, dumb it down for me, I just want to say this to you. You know, a lot of times when I talk about Jesus, okay, and we talk about he has a plan and he has a purpose for you. And we put it in his hands. And what a lot of people don't know that as the flesh life, we're always trying to do things on our own, right? But in short, and I want to get back on topic here to conspiracies and mysteries, it's already mapped out. So how can you go back?
Yeah.
Centuries.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're just sharing with me. Now, some people call it coincidence, right? I kind of taken coincidence out of my vocabulary from a Christian standpoint. Right. But that's insane. But let's do this real fast.
Okay.
I'm only getting a buzzing in my ear that we do need to go to a commercial. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Troy, Boy Troy, and Trust will be right back. Love it, because I got people watching. I'm keeping this up now. And this James Johnson, the plane was also a military plane.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
I'm gonna bring
it. Doesn't look like.
Well, I got collaboration.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's.
He's talking about there are also reports of explosions before the plane.
Right.
So it's working.
Let's go to the second video. No plane hit the Pentagon, because I want to talk about the planes.
Dude, isn't that cool that I could see people communicate now? Remember I told you I wanted to do an engagement?
Yeah.
If I can get this down, dude, I'm telling you, we could almost be not talking, but I love it.
I just want these numbers up after a couple weeks of,
failures.
Hillbillies.
But I just need to step up myself, dude, on that.
Well, you've got a lot of shit going, dude.
I do, but
Should we get this one?
And then what was the video you want me to do next?
Video number 2.
2, okay.
Honestly, this all points to a Mossad operation. It's unbelievable.
Well, I want to save time because I definitely want the last topic covered.
I went back and I looked at who.
Oh, we're back.
Sounds pretty good.
There's some,
Yeah.
there's some groove and some funk.
Yeah.
You don't want me to pull out my little guitar thing again, do they?
You look like Tiny Tim doing that.
Do you remember what this is?
Yeah, you're playing the air nipple.
No, it's the Dickie Doo guitar.
No.
Do you remember what the Dickie Doo guitar is?
No, I don't.
That's because my belly stick out more than my Dickie Doo.
Right.
Hey, we're back! Jeez. Okay, I don't know how to come back from that one. But anyways, what'd you say? We're going to video 3. Is that what you said?
Let's go to what I said, number 2.
You said number 2?
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to that real fast. You just never know what's going to happen.
Could anyone fly a 60-ton, 125-foot wide, 44-foot tall plane through this obstacle course?
The aircraft, before striking the Pentagon, reportedly executed a 270-degree downward spiral. And yet Hani Hanjour was known as a terrible pilot who could not safely fly even a small plane.
You see all the debris, street lights and stuff like that? I mean, and he landed that thing. We have 1 second of something going into the Pentagon. You can't even tell if it's an airplane or whatever. Now, the guy just talked about the airplanes. I wondered about the airplanes because in one of my videos, and I don't know if they'll show it here or not, it looks like there is a missile underneath the airplane. Okay? And I've wondered about this because I think these planes were loaded with thermite.
Right, I've heard that. I've heard that.
I think they were, and they worked in conjunction with someone coming in and basically pulling the structures from down below.
With that being said, we've got James watching the podcast right now, and his flat-out comment says there are also reports of explosions before the plane hit.
Yes, yeah, I saw those.
And that's numerous.
Yeah.
Numerous people. So again,
yes, they did.
The collapsing of the tower, okay, matter of fact, just go get a Lego set. Erect a Lego set, throw a tennis ball at it, okay? I mean, I don't think that's an oddity. How's that tower going to collapse?
Well, it's going to go up one way or the other. I mean,
but not
straight down.
Straight down. And we all witnessed that.
Yeah.
So you got people witnessing that. You got people even talking about what you said, okay? There's got to be better explanations. And again, here's where I go back with the whistleblowers. We're only told what they want us to know. And folks, that's why listen, I'm proud to be an American. Period. That's why this topic is so sensitive to me. Because if the truth ever comes out, whistleblowers, please come forward. Eminem needs to make a cut about that. But I'm like really confused right now that if there's a remote chance that this is within our soil, that soil, how would we ever get over that?
Well, if you get enough people that lie about it, then you don't believe it, and then suddenly it didn't happen, you know. I mean, that's how we get her. Listen, there were holes in this operation. There were big holes in this operation. There were big holes in the JFK assassination.
Well, isn't this also, we've talked about this before, isn't this one of the quickest things that when that building came down, that all that steel was immediately shipped off?
Oh, yeah.
Not even left for inspection? Or
No.
Okay, and why? You don't think that things that currently go on today that are on lockdown?
Well, they said they found traces of thermite, some of these private investigators or whatever, and they discounted it all. You know, so, I tell you what, these planes...
Let's bounce again real fast. Didn't I just say that was Rapido, El Rapido, how fast we got rid of that steel?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to another episode that we had, John F. Kennedy. How fast what I'm saying is the narrative.
Well, and
how fast do we pin the problem, and then we just move on? Case is closed, filed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just 9/11. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm talking about, this is our government. You know, this is... I'm getting irritated.
Care of us, you know?
Yes, I'm getting irritated.
I tell you what, I know this isn't in sequential order, but when Jesus was here, he became the sacrifice.
By the way, he's still here, Troy, just to let you know.
Sure.
All right, but go ahead.
I mean, his body.
Yes, sir.
Okay, he was here as the sacrifice. In other words, it ended all of the human sacrifice, you know. That is work of the devil to require human sacrifice. And this looks like an event that was an event for human sacrifice. You know, I mean, and then the profiteers like Dick Cheney and Bibi Netanyahu talking about this. I mean, it just kind of has the earmarks of an event that is aimed at giving power to. You know, they talk about maybe the Statue of Liberty is the whore of Babylon. You know, and they talk about the third temple being
pretty powerful statement there,
built in Israel or whatever. I contend that the Twin Towers was the third temple, and it ushered in an era of the Antichrist. I mean, it's, you know, I don't know, that's just my opinion. No, I don't rule it out. Let's just say I don't rule it out.
Listen, you're entitled to an opinion, just like you guys are entitled to an opinion. Listen, whether it be this episode or you've had your own theories, please share with us. I mean, this is something we love. We encourage you, the watching, listening audience. We want your opinions. Not only that, if there's a topic, now here's where I'm getting off topic. If there's a topic that you would like to bring up, conspiracies, theories, myths, legends, if you don't want to go on Facebook to where people see your name, listen, jot this down. TrustonRiverBender@gmail.com, because Troy and I absolutely love doing our homework. And listen, we just don't watch the first YouTube video or the first reel and we come at you. We do our due diligence so that when we speak to you, that you can convey the message that, you know, and again, our opinions, just like your opinions, they matter.
I want to read something here.
Go ahead, please.
A day of darkness and gloom, a day of cloud and shadow spread like soot over the hills, their vanguard a consuming fire, in their wake a devouring flame. Now, the Hebrew poet Joel, that was his prophecy before Solomon's temple fell. Okay? And I told you that these events happened on 9/11, the first temple, the second temple, and 9/11. Okay? This guy prophesied these events that happened, you know, in the first temple, arguably maybe all three, who knows? But I mean, that was hundreds of years ago.
That's what I'm talking about.
And you saw the Kabbalah tree of life. You saw the IXXI. You saw the Jesuit rings, IXXI.
Hey, if anybody's actually just joining us, here's what Troy's talking about. When we go back into history, now again, if we get quiet for just a moment, I just want to show you these pics. And what I want you to look at is look at the symbolism, if I pronounce that right, of the 911 in there. So how do you go and pull up that footage, that's as legit as it gets, to directly match 9/11?
Well, it was foreknowledge. We talked
about that, yes.
So, I mean, this event was scheduled to happen. Had it not been 9/11, if they couldn't have made it work on 9/11, I don't think it would have happened. I think 9/11, I think, and we're going to lead up to this video we're going to see here in a minute, about manifesting, okay? Manifesting isn't new. It's accepted in a lot of religions. Christianity, maybe not so much, but a little bit. But it's also big in the Kabbalah, okay? And so...
Which number are we going to? Which video?
I don't know which one you've got written here. Oh, by the way, the black boxes, you know, there were 4 black boxes that were on those planes. None of them were found. None of them were found.
Come on, dude.
No,
anytime there's a crash, it's the first thing we
go
for.
These are indestructible devices, and there were 4 of them never found. And I'll tell you what else. If you look at these videos that we've looked at, the Pentagon and the towers, the planes almost like disappeared.
Hey, speaking of the Pentagon, first of all, what I've seen, when you talk about a pilot, talented or not, actually, let's go talented. Let's go extremely talented.
Yeah.
For it to hit as low as, come on, dude.
I know. I know. It was almost like it was controlled remotely, you know, because these planes not only hit buildings, they turn to confetti.
I think pilots can really appreciate the conversation we're having right now, because we don't know the rightfulness of what it takes to navigate the projection that they shared the way the plane hit.
Yeah. I mean, how many plane crashes have you seen where there's always a fuselage or something, a wing up in the tree or something? There's nothing left of these planes.
Do you guys have an explanation for this? Because we are troubling ourselves in the studio to figure out, why was the steel removed so fast?
Right.
And a huge one. Come on, we talk about today. The number one thing that we look for when there's a crash, first of all, is passengers. Yeah. We definitely, life comes first. But when it comes to building a scene, an accident scene, it's those boxes.
Right.
And they don't make sense.
They'll even try and recreate parts of the plane and put them together.
Now, I'm going to go off topic here because it's kind of the conspiracies and theories. Do you know those people who are out there and money's not even an issue, but like if there's only 2 gold, diamond, jewel things, whatever, those people with all the money have to get it. It's kind of like the Indiana Jones, you'll go through anything.
Right.
How come I've never, excuse me, I've never heard anybody talk about the price they'll pay for these black boxes?
Yeah, right.
I mean, is there even a price tag on it? Because you have to know they got to exist.
Oh, sure they do.
But you know what? I think I just started a new conspiracy, treasure hunt. Who's going to spend the money for those black boxes?
Well, you got to think about who has the money.
Smithsonian Institution.
Well, that could be one.
Whistleblower.
I want to tell you the guy that have you ever heard of a guy named Larry Silverstein?
Well, Silverstein, I think.
Yeah, he was Jewish.
That's where I'm going at with it.
He took ownership of the Twin Towers just weeks before, 9/11, and he would. Every day he would be there. He had a deal where he would have breakfast at a certain part of the building overlooking something there at the tower. But guess what?
He didn't show up that
9/11,
day.
he didn't show up for work.
Come on, folks.
Yeah. And here's what's funny about this. Well, it's not funny, but he had it insured. I don't know what the amount was. They gave him $3.5 billion. He wanted 4.5 because he said that it actually was two different events. So he wanted twice the money. Okay, I mean, how Jewish can you get? I mean that, but he settled for $3.5 billion.
That's all.
Yeah, but I
sounds premeditated.
But he wasn't there that day. He wasn't there that day.
Well, and I don't want to butcher this, but isn't there also a very other known person whose work ethic was there every single day, and another individual didn't show up?
Howard Lutnick. He was a CEO of Fitzgerald Financial Services, Cantor Fitzgerald. He was a neighbor of Epstein.
Now, really fast, jumping fast forward because we have so much content to cover. What was his benefit of it? So we're talking about the work ethic.
I don't think I think if I can remember, I don't know. I think Cantor Fitzgerald, he was the CEO. All those people died, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, they were somewhere on the top.
Even the first gentleman you were talking about?
Larry
because he collected his money.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Right, he wasn't there.
But all these people of Cantor Fitzgerald died, and I don't think he got any insurance money. But he's on Trump's cabinet. So and when they bring up Epstein, there's a video out there of him laughing, like, oh, that's preposterous. They shared an apartment. They shared real estate together. So, and there's another Epstein connection to this thing. So why don't we go ahead and show the one video that is so freaky, and we'll talk about that.
Are we talking about the spelling bee one that I want?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're gonna go to that. All right. Okay. Trust doing his I never did my AV in school, so that's where I'm terrible. But this video, ladies and gentlemen, woo!
Get ready to read all these words on this page without making a mistake. Look at the letter at the end and remember the sound it makes. Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready to read this word the fast way. Get ready. Kid. Yes, kid. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. What word? Kid. Yes, kid. Boys and girls, sound this word out. Get ready. Steel. What word? Steel. Yes, steel. Read these words the fast way. Get ready. Play. Yes, playing. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Let's read these words the fast way.
I think we've heard enough.
Get ready.
So we're definitely going to take coincidence out of this conversation, ladies and gentlemen.
Plain steel hit must is the.
But you hear the words "the day of," and not only the day
It's
of.
between the first and the second plane, okay? Because if you watch the longer version of that video, Ari Fleischer then comes in and tells George Bush we're under attack. The first time he tells him, he says like there's a plane hit the tower, you know. But the second time, between the first and the second time, that's when that happens. And by the way, we've all been to school. When do we have to say things fast? It was a chant. They were manifest.
That's the manifestation you were talking about.
Yeah, it's in every self-help book out there. Well, how am I going to be a millionaire? I'm picturing myself a millionaire. Okay, I mean it's out there. And
so listen, you guys hear this little chuckle in me. The chuckle is, again, I struggle with the word coincidence, but folks, we're talking about the very day.
yes,
And so, you know, it makes you, before we go to our final commercial break, but it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder, again, AI wasn't, unless AI is way ahead of its game and we didn't know that. Again, go back to the news reporter. Saying the tower has fallen while clearly in the background the tower is still standing.
Right.
Okay? We're talking about how the steel immediately left before any type of investigation. How are the black boxes not found?
Yeah.
How? On this video, unless it's AI generated, how do you talk about steel, plane, and hit? Yeah. I mean, what are you guys feeling about that? Do you just, what do we talk about? What's that one effect I was doing with the guy with the symbolism and the...
You're talking about the Mandela?
The Mandela effect. Man, we'll have to be right back after this commercial.
Okay. Yeah, because I want to get into this Epstein connection and the and who this.
So this works out good because John was texting me, and I don't like to be on my phone. I told you I don't like when CJ does that. I clicked buttons during commercial and got lucky. LOL. But John said, we can hear you over commercials and not over photos you put up. I do that because in the past we had issues with that. So sometimes I purposely go silent, show the photos, and then talk about them so I don't risk blah, blah, blah. I'll stop rambling as we're finalizing the show. I'm asking if you like my Dickie do. I'm going to go back to Simon and Garf. I was going to go give up the funk. It doesn't matter. All right, dude, so we only got like 12 minutes left. You're taking over. I'm just going to ad-lib. Because my only input was the stock market. Okay, we're going live, okay? Yeah. Huh.
Should turn that up a little bit.
Turn it up, dude. 315 pounds of soul, baby. Huh.
That's a hunk of burning love.
Hey, I love me some Elvis. We don't have time for Elvis today.
Hey,
listen, we only got like a little over 10 minutes left, and we still have a ton of content to cover.
Real quick, there is
Yes.
an Epstein connection to this.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the book that they were reading from, that you saw George Bush, it's a book called My Pet Goat. And that was in a workbook group of books, I guess, that was published ultimately down the chain, but it was published by a guy by the name of, it was Pergamon Press. Okay, I think later it was McGraw-Hill, and then it evolved to something else, but it was still Pergamon Press. Okay, the guy that started that was a guy named Robert Maxwell. Now, when he died, there were 6 former heads of Israeli intelligence that were there at his funeral. Okay, so this guy, I think he was connected. Okay, they really don't know how he died. He fell overboard his boat, I guess. But Pergamon, if you don't know, is an ancient city in Greece, which is now modern-day Turkey, okay? The book of Revelations talks about this place as being the synagogue of Satan. Jesus calls this area out and calls it the synagogue of Satan, okay? So this guy names his publishing business after a place known as the synagogue of Satan. And by the way, if you want to go see the things in Pergamum, it was taken apart and rebuilt in Berlin. So it's, if you want to go see the synagogue of Satan, it's there waiting. If you want to go to Berlin and check it out.
I don't think I'm going anywhere near that. I got to. Anyway, I do have to tell you this. I talk about we.
But this guy was the father of this Ghislaine Maxwell, who is Epstein's cohort. This, you know. So it just, these people are all in bed together.
Well, I'm just saying, that's what I was going to share with you. I do my due diligence before every podcast. I had no rightful knowledge. I mean, the tie, connecting the dots is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, they're all in bed together. I went back and I looked at, the state of these, because we went after Iraq, right? After 9/11. Mm-hmm. The Israel relations pre 9/11, there's a continuous state of hostility. I mean, there was no formal diplomatic relations at all. So this sounds like an enemy of Israel, right? Afghanistan, no formal diplomatic relations, and did not recognize Israeli statehood. So again, these are not friends of Israel. Now I've heard, this notion that Israel gets us to fight their wars. And I'm not saying that that's true or not. I'm just saying I've heard that, and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, Mossad. I mean, I don't know. I think there was a collaboration between the CIA and maybe Mossad. But I'm going to tell you what, a guy wearing a fan belt and a bed sheet out in the desert needed help. I'm just saying.
Well, I was just reading a comment from James Johnson here as we were talking about the manifesting. So after the podcast, you'll have to go and read his comments. I definitely appreciate his engagement in this. But Troy, because we're running, just to read it directly, even deeper, the English language may have been created by fallen angels. Hence,
I believe that.
Hence the term spelling and many other interesting facts about the frequency of sounds produced by words. Mm-hmm. This matter may be beyond human comprehension.
Yeah, because you think about it, the people that created speech, they were creating things that they'd never even heard of. So how hard would that be?
Well, isn't that kind of what we still talk about today when you talk in tongue?
I think a lot of guys talk in tongue now because I can't understand what you're saying.
Hey, listen, we only got so much time left on the show. And again, James, I really appreciate not only you watching, but getting involved with us. I've got one more picture that I want to pull up because not only do I want to talk about this, and you've actually already touched on it, okay? But I still have one final question before we end. So let me just show this picture real fast. Revelation.
They talk about, Apollyon, the angel from the abyss. By the way, the new Trade Center, they call it One World. One World Trade Center. It's the two become one, okay? If you look at the shape, the design of that new tower, it's triangles. It's triangles. Now, where did we get the triangles before? It's in the Masonic logo. It's in the Star of David. I mean, I don't know. I think it ushered in a new era of Antichrist. I really do.
Well, and that's what we said. I said there's so much to talk about. We did fail you guys this evening. One of the things that Troy showed me a while back that I found so interesting, maybe we could do like a short on it afterwards, was when we were talking about U.S. currency, how you could take a monetary bill and fold it. Now, guys, you can't make this up. This currency's in your pocket right now. But you could technically fold, and this is where we failed you. I can only describe it, not show it to you. But you could fold this dollar bill in sequences that actually show the Twin Towers.
The stages of the Twin Towers getting constructed.
So, man.
And it's geometry. And who loves geometry? The Masons.
So,
and actually the Kabbalists do.
If y'all tuned in for this entire hour, This is a conspiracy show that we do the research. And listen, you're out there and you may know even more than us. And that's why we ask you to collaborate and comment. And again, if you don't want your name identified, reach out to me, trustonriverbender@gmail.com. Take coincidence out of the equation. And we're going back centuries ago with the 9/11, things happening on 9/11, without repeating myself with the black boxes, etc. But how do you take this monetary, U.S. currency, and show the sequences?
They put it right out there, dude. I'm gonna tell you what. We could talk more about this sort of thing, hopefully in another show. But you know, The Simpsons with the 9/11 things, and I'll tell you what else I've noticed, because I like Seinfeld, okay? But they're always saying stuff about JFK. You ever notice that? And they even did a sequence where they're showing the oddities of how the one bullet, you know, shook him out. But also, this is, I watched it the other night, and it looks like Obama is on the building, on his wall. Okay, it looks like Obama. And then there's another one where he is. The first thing you see is the Trump airplane, and they're talking about Nazis and Jews. I mean, so I don't know. I'm just saying that a lot of times they will put stuff out there to kind of let the people on the inside know what they're doing. I mean, it sounds crazy.
Let's go back to your one word, foreknowledge.
Yeah.
That is definitely an episode we're going to have to do. So
I would like to.
I'm winding down.
Okay.
Again, I want to share with you that our opinions don't necessarily reflect RiverBender Radio's views, but I do got to give a shout out to RiverBender Radio and allow us to do this conspiracy and theory. So speaking of theory, Troy, for closure, take us out. What do you think?
Who do I think was behind 9/11?
You got 5 minutes. I want
5 minutes? I'm going to be dead by then.
All right, give me
I just got to ad-lib it. Yeah.
We'll pop a blue pill at last.
I tell you what, dude, I'm starting to find out that, I don't know, strange bedfellows sometimes, I guess, comes to mind. When I think about maybe this being a Mossad, CIA collaborative with bin Laden, who was an asset to the CIA in the 80s. And what did we do? We went after Israel's enemies. We did. You know, I told you what Bibi Netanyahu said. It was a good thing, and said that in '95 when he was talking about his book deal, he talked about the Twin Towers getting hit by these people. I mean, what is he? Is he either incredibly stupid, or he's a genius? I don't know, but it just there were so many the dancing Israelis we didn't talk about. We at the dance. Are you familiar with this?
Well, no, but I said
they went out and Scal saw these guys dancing around. Now they say they're Israeli art students, but two of which that they took to jail and then released. Why would you release them? I don't understand that. Why would you release them when at least two of them are working Israeli intelligence? You know, and they said, well, we were there to witness the event or take photos of the event or whatever. How did they know that that was going to happen? They did know. They absolutely knew. So it's just, you know, and the other thing I understand, but when you look at these videos, I want you to look for the plane. Look at the Pentagon. You know how many cameras and stuff are around the Pentagon? We get 1 second of something going into the Pentagon. You look at the cavern, and there's no plane. There's no planes anywhere on any of these planes. There was no plane. There's like confetti.
Yeah, again, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your theory. Matter of fact, what would you, on this topic, or actually any topic, I'm asking you to reach out. TrustonRiverBender@gmail.com, because right now I'm leaning toward foreknowledge on another episode.
I got a lot of stuff on that.
And if you're out there, I'm going to conclude with this. If you're out there, my favorite topic, whistleblowers. So I say that for a reason, Troy. If it wasn't one person, right? Because I just listened to your theory.
Mm-hmm.
If there was so many people involved, let's go back to John F. Kennedy. On the deathbed, didn't somebody make a confession? So you have
Yeah.
this.
Oh yeah.
Right. So what I'm getting at is if you have all these people involved, somebody has to have a heart. Somebody has to have a conscience. So where's my whistleblower that before they pass, tell us the truth? And I said that politely,
They
by the
do
way.
tell us the truth, but you're never going to hear their voice. I mean, not to the extent.
But you're
where
telling us to connect the dots that way.
Well, I'm telling you what. Between the media being how they are, with the narrative-driven message, okay, and now with AI, you're not going to be able to believe anything you see. Now you can't believe anything you hear now, and they can't believe what you see. I told you about the chat, AI chat,
Yes.
or whatever. That's for dummies that don't want to do any research. It's it says here it's debunked. I'll just move on. You've got to dig deeper. If you're
and that's what we do.
Yeah, you gotta
That's
dig
what we
deeper.
do.
Yeah.
So money was way more important than that devastation and all the lives that it took. And not to mention the ripple effect.
There's
still.
an elite group out there that thinks you get power through sacrifice, through human blood sacrifice.
So you're talking about Colt.
What's that?
You're talking about Colts.
Colts.
Yeah. You're going. I don't know if you're going to use that
Talking
word.
about a football game?
No, not the Colts. Like CULTS.
Oh, Colts.
Colts.
Oh yeah. Well,
My
they've been
nose
doing
gets
that
in the
since
way of
dawn.
my pronunciation.
They've been doing that since the dawn of time. So this
Right.
thing, blood for power, is nothing new.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to a conclusion, I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Conspiracies and Mysteries. Would definitely like your feedback. What do you think about 9/11? Start from the beginning. Where were you? What emotions were going through? And now that all this time has passed,